Coming up on today's episode of Parasport Nation, it's all about next-gen athletes. Chase Nicklin from the Snowboard team is here, talking about the process and what it means to be a next-gen athlete. Let's get into it.
Welcome to Parasport Nation with Alex Smyth and Nathan Clement.
Welcome into Parasport Nation. I'm your host, Alex Smyth. Nathan, it's officially wintertime here in Ontario. The snow is on the ground. It's officially staying. How are things out in Vancouver?
A whole lot of rain, but it's kind of interesting. There's been rumblings that we're actually going to get snow in Vancouver. So if that does happen, it's another Wintergeddon coming our way. But at least our conditions are better than what it's looking like in Milano Cortina right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of things heating up in Milano Cortina. So a couple big news stories kind of broke this week. So let's start with this one. The first one is all about the athlete village in Cortina. This is where there's going to be the curling events for the Paralympics. It's going to be all the downhill events, snowboarding, alpine, skiing, things like that. The athlete village, it's not going to be any standard structure. It's a series of trailers that look like the most Spartan and bare dorm room setups you could possibly think of. It's just literally the bed, a small bathroom attached. Each trailer has 2 rooms, one of them slightly bigger to be accessible, and there's going to be 2 athletes per room so 4 athletes in total per trailer. I am not impressed, to say the least, of what the conditions are, especially given the fact that this is Cortina, one of the most beautiful places in the world, especially with Italy and the Dolomite Mountains. Nathan, what do you make of this? And I should also add, too, on top of this, it's not like they're right next to where the common areas are. They say it's going to be a 10-minute walk out into the wintry conditions to get to the common areas like the cafeteria and training areas and gyms and things like that. So just starting to put this all together, especially if you're an athlete with mobility issues, if you're a wheelchair user, things like that. In the middle of winter, you have to get out of your room to go to the cafeteria. You're braving a 10-minute plus walk or stroll to get to the cafeteria. This is gonna be something we're gonna continue to hear about, I think, as the games go on. But what are your reactions?
Yeah, this is a growing and looming concern, and even for a lot of obviously the Paralympic athletes are going to be affected by this, but this even affects Olympic athletes too, is because this is the most important time of your recovery. This is when you need to rest your legs. This is where you really need to take care of yourself and just focus in on that recovery, because the games is about recovery. Whoever can recover best is going to win. And for like any athlete, that kind of walking, that kind of distance, I've experienced it before in Rio in 2016, where it was about 10, 15 minutes to get from the Canada dorms all the way to the food hall. And it's taxing, it's long, it's tough. And just these conditions are a bit trickier. But I guess the one plus I will give is that because they are going to be in trailers, there's going to be a lot more quiet, I would assume, just in the dorms, in the rooms, I would hope. But yeah, this is a little concerning of what the trailers are looking like, the builds looking like. It's kind of become a trend with the games. You see it even in Tokyo, then you saw it in Paris, and now in Milano Cortina, where definitely they're putting the living quarters, the living conditions down a step to where it should be and has to be for these athletes.
And I should point out, too, you're talking about how taxing it was to walk to the common areas during a summer Paralympics. These are going to be a winter Paralympic. You're going to be dealing with snow. You're in the Dolomite mountain range, in a valley of the mountains. There's going to be snow. There's going to be ice. It's going to be cold. So, and this is after kind of this came out, Team Norway had decided that they're not going to have their athletes stay in the village. Instead, they're going to put them up in a hotel just to have better conditions or theoretically better conditions for them to stay in and recover and not have to worry about staying in a trailer for, the week and a half, 2 weeks that the athletes will be in the region there. There's something to be said for the proximity. Obviously, you're going to be close to town. It's like a 10-minute drive to the town of Cortina. You're going to be close to the venues, but still, this is what always boggles my mind, is the idea that these organizing committees, these groups that are putting these games together, this to me seems like a bit of a last minute solution. They talk about, well, this is going to be temporary. We don't want these to be permanent structures. Okay, but looking at the quality of the builds and what's included, they could have added a bunch more, made it so at least the athlete can get an individual room. To me, that seems like a luxury we should be affording these athletes. But you've been to a few of these games. You can tell me if I'm way off base here, but I think athletes should have their own room.
I do think athletes should have their own room, and it comes down to so many different factors, and it feels like a real kind of oversight and even slip up as a whole. I got to be always careful what I say as a current athlete and current member of these teams, but at the end of the day, it's one of those things where, okay, they're going to be taking this down afterwards, but for a lot of the games I've been at, they've used these venues, they've used these accommodations as legacy places, as legacy condos, apartments, like what they're doing in Paris, what they did in Rio in 2016. And it almost feels like a bit of a shame, because this is a part where your city can really develop, where your community can really develop, get more housing. Well, Cortina's up in the Dolomites, as we've mentioned, as we've talked about, but more affordable housing too, which is something so key and so important. And it feels like a missed opportunity, but in no way am I fully entrenched into Dolomite politics and Dolomite housing code and Dolomite, just the inner workings of those regions. But it does feel like a real miss for a lot of these athletes. And at the end of the day, people are going to suffer. People are going to be affected by it. I was affected by the cardboard beds in Paris poorly. And it's already been known that if I'm lucky enough and if I'm fortunate enough to qualify for LA in 2028, those beds are coming back. So it's about trying to make it sustainable for the athletes so they can perform well, not just a quick, easy tear down, build up solution for the organizers. This is the moment where you want the athletes to look the best, because this is their moment to shine, and that makes the games look great. That makes the organizing committee look solid and really celebrates all the amazing work the volunteers, the organizing staff have done to really build an amazing games and an amazing system that allows for sporting success.
And speaking of legacy projects, this brings us to our next story, because the hockey arena that is set to host the Olympic and Paralympic hockey games in Milan still isn't complete. And right now it's down to the wire, to the point where there are concerns that the arena is going to be ready in time for the Olympics, because part of it is there's no real backup plan if that arena is not ready to go. That brings a whole lot of questions, not only from the Olympic side, but then you start to consider, okay, well, this has to be an accessible arena for the para ice hockey competition. I hate to think this way, but this is just kind of based on many, many experiences. Does this mean in order to speed up the process to make sure it's done for the Olympics, a lot of those accessibility features are going to probably go by the wayside, and the teams competing there are probably going to be dealing with less than optimal conditions, because even if the arena gets built in time for the Olympics, they're not going to have that lead up time to work out all the kinks with the rink and make sure everything's working perfectly. There's going to be hiccups, and I think accessibility is going to probably slide down the list of priorities for getting this arena done.
I'm on the hopeful side. I'm hoping that time is running out, obviously, for the arena to be fully built, fully furnished, but hopefully they're able to build that pathway, build that accessibility, because a lot of the things that do happen and kind of the inside baseball of the Olympics and Paralympics is that 2-week period between the games is to put in a lot of the accessibility features, is to add a lot of touches, take down the branding, take down all that stuff to allow for that accessibility to be taken care of, and hopefully they can have that on their foresight. But right now it's It's an interesting time. But you also have arenas nearby that have hosted para ice hockey, that have hosted Olympic hockey too. You think in Switzerland, you think in Torino in 2006. There are options around them that in case this isn't going the way that they have backups, but you never know what's going to happen.
You never know what's going to happen, so you just have to be hopeful and optimistic like Nathan, and not a bit of a realist and pessimist like myself. But let's keep on the optimism train, Nathan, because our guest today is someone who is making a big waves in the world of para snowboard. It is Chase Nicklin, who's part of the next gen team. He's vying to try to become a member of the 2026 Paralympic team. He could potentially be, if he's lucky enough, be staying in one of those trailers in Cortina. So with that, let's get to know Chase Nicklin from Para Snowboard. Chase, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So you really burst onto the scene in 2024. You had 4 first place finishes. Like, what was it like having that success early in your career, kind of right out of the gate?
It definitely boosted the ego a lot for that good amount of time there, and I was feeling really good on that. Those were the Europa Cup wins, so I was one step out from World Cup, so I always knew there's going to be a lot tougher, harder competition. But at the end of the day, that was a really good confidence boost for going into World Cup.
Chase, thank you so much for joining us today. You followed that up by continuing to develop with the next gen team. How big has that part been a part of your development?
Really big. I mean, they were giving me a lot of opportunity even before, as I was creeping into next gen. And then once I got into next gen, it was kind of just a really good title that they gave me more opportunity to develop with the team, which was really nice.
And for someone who may not be aware of like how the next gen team or structure worked, can you kind of like take us through that a little bit? Like, you know, what's the setup or the structure like? What's the training like? Things like that.
I mean, they keep it really nice where they will honestly treat you just as a nationally athlete, so which is super cool, and you feel just as part of the team as a next gen athlete.
That's really great. Like all the next gen programs and all the sports play such a vital role, but also that vital role in the team is we had a teammate of yours, Tyler Turner, on the program a couple weeks ago. You've been able to really form a relationship with him being in the same classification as you. What is it like to have him as a teammate and even as a mentor?
It's everything besides snowboarding, just having him as a friend and being able to call him whenever I got questions or stuff like that. But such a big advantage to be training with him and having the opportunity as him being a teammate, but also coaching in a sense on giving me little tips here and there.
Now, you've been involved with snowboarding before. It was something you did before your accident and before you kind of started really pursuing this and making the next gen team. Like, what is it about snowboarding that was you wanted to get back into that sport? You wanted to kind of pursue that passion once again?
Well, it all started with when I first got in contact with Tyler, and I was just talking to him about sports that I wanted to keep doing and all that kind of thing. And I was seeing what he's doing with snowboarding and all that stuff. So it actually started with me just wanting to learn how to snowboard again. And it kind of spiraled into something where I was at my first competition and I got that feeling of being competitive again. And that just hooked me right then and there, where I was like, hey, this can be something real.
That's really amazing. For the team, you've had competitions and training camps in the Yukon, and feels like every single year that's like the start of the season, as well as there's races and training camps throughout the year. What does Mount Sema and the Yukon mean to Canada's snowboarding team?
So much. I mean, it's my favorite, definitely, spot to go to. It's just they treat you so well there, and they give us so much opportunity with letting us the small down by the tow rope to a little pump track to start it off as we build the bigger track higher up there. And then just being in the Yukon with hot springs, our team loves, and it's just so quiet up there where all we do is just snowboard, eat, sleep, snowboard, really, and it's amazing.
What do you kind of when you are seeing like some of the other national team athletes like training, like Tyler, as you mentioned that you have such a great relationship with them, like what are things that they do that you're trying to pick up on or you're trying to bring into your own training, preparation, or competitions?
With the training wise, it's just their movements and their thinking of going into the turn while they're beside someone and how they're going to enter the turn or exit the turn. It's just those little details that I'm just trying to pick up on. And even when they're talking to the coach about those little details, I'll be kind of listening to that too on the side there.
In para snowboarding, it's as an outsider, it's an amazing sport to watch because you have the bank slalom event, but you also have the snowboard cross as well, where it's 1v1 and then it's 1v3 people down the course. What is it like preparing for those races? And is there any like similarities between the two that you really focus on as you continue to grow and develop?
The biggest thing I would focus on and been focusing on is my warm up to before the game. Like the competition, I'll be a lot of mental stuff, and then a lot of physical warming up too. But I find there's not like a crazy similarity with them, just because of there'd be a person beside you in the snowboard cross, but bank slalom you're just solo. So that I feel like the snowboard cross is a little more intense for the mental game.
Oh, well, it's definitely my favorite Paralympic sport by far. I've always had such a strong connection to snowboard cross. I love it. It's just so chaotic, but it's also so exciting in the moment that even if you're the best athlete on the run, one wrong turn, one kind of competitor taking a sharper angle and you get knocked out. But even if you get knocked down, it doesn't mean you're out because someone else further down the track could kind of make a mistake or land poorly and crash. So it always has such this element of excitement, and you never quite know where things are going to go, like who's going to be the first across the line. But for yourself, like when you are going down a run like that, you talked about like, okay, trying to, work on the mental preparation before the race begins. But when the race is going, like what are you thinking in those moments as you're making those turns, as you're trying to kind of not only focus on what you're doing, but also keeping an eye out for what the competitors are doing as well?
Two big things that I've been really keen on is just keep looking ahead as far as possible with it, and just breathing at the end of the day. Catch myself sometimes just not breathing as I'm going down the track, and I'm like, oh, what's going on here? And I got to kind of remind myself, all right, breathe here, going through this, and just going through the motions in my head as I'm going down.
That's really amazing. Just that mental awareness is so, so key. You just recently had the first World Cup of the year in the Netherlands, in Landgraf. What is it like having an indoor hill like that? And what's the feeling now? You're probably a little jet lagged back in Canada, I'm guessing, but what's it like being back home from the first World Cup?
It's really nice. I mean, we went Yukon, Whitehorse, and then we went straight to the Netherlands. So it was kind of just, it was a whole lot of snowboarding and a lot on the bodies. So, I mean, to be back here at home and settling down now is just very good for the brain, and kind of get back to a little routine here before I take off again.
Now, this next few months are going to be a really big opportunity for you as you're trying to vie to try to make some noise, potentially get onto the national team for the Paralympics. Like, what is your mindset between now and when Milano Cortina kicks off?
My biggest switch in mindset I would be as the season started was just now taking it day by day on thinking about what I can do better for each day, because it's kind of a rabbit hole I get into sometimes, thinking about all the way down the line on what it could be, potentially be. And now I'm just trying to stick to the program on each day and figure that out.
Do you have a perfect race day routine, or do you have any superstitions that gets you to that perfect day?
Yeah, I'm very superstitious on everything has to go the exact same way. I would say usually it's I I'd like to do like exactly 15 minutes in my room, stretching and getting ready, usually throwing on a podcast, 15 minutes. And then it's usually like 10-ish minutes in the wax room where I put on my leg and all that kind of stuff before I head out. Yeah, I would like to do the exact same thing that I did on training day for race day, just to stay the same.
Yeah, keep that consistency for sure. And so now, Chase, we're going to put you to the test a little bit. We got some rapid fire questions. We asked this of Tyler when he was on the program. Now it's your turn in the hot seat. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is your favorite mountain snack?
Cliff Bar, the white chocolate.
That's so good. As a cyclist, I eat those all the time. Music or the outdoors as your sound when you ride?
Oh, outdoors. I find myself getting distracted if I put on some music.
Now, what about, are you going to be riding in the morning or are you an evening rider?
Morning all day. I love my mornings.
What is your favorite snow conditions to ride in?
I would say kind of sunny out would be like -2 out and super nice groomed.
What is your biggest pet peeve on the slopes?
Filling a chairlift full, I would say. I just can't stand it. I'd rather just, if it's a 5-man one, just throw 3 people on it. Like, give some room here. I'm not a fan of stuffing one up.
Do you have a dream mountain to ride?
I do not. No, I probably should, but I can't think of one right now. No, I mean.
Well, I mean, you did talk about how much you enjoyed the Yukon. So, I think that's a pretty good one. And I think if the opportunity does come knocking, I feel like there's a pretty good one in Milano Cortina for you too.
I would very enjoy that one.
If you did get that call, what would it mean for you to be able to represent your country at a Paralympics?
Everything. I mean, it would just be so surreal. I don't know. I don't totally know how I'd feel. It would be crazy.
Well, Chase, this has been phenomenal. Thank you so much for taking the time, and best of luck for you as these next few months unfold for you. And hopefully we hear some good news as we follow your journey along.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Nathan. I really appreciate this. Super cool.
And that was our conversation with Chase Nicklin, para-snowboarder and member of the Next Gen national team. Nathan, I really enjoyed getting to chat with Chase because, we focus so much on the national team athletes, those who have already established themselves as one of the best in the country, if not in the sport, like Tyler Turner. But to keep tabs on who's up and coming, who's part of that next wave of athletes that may make a name for themselves within this cycle or maybe the next cycle. And I think Chase is certainly someone who is on the cusp of that. As I mentioned, he had 4 first place finishes in 2024. This season is going to be huge for him, and there's a lot of opportunity to make a lasting impression if he does well early.
Exactly. And even after speaking with him, he's just so committed, in love with this sport, and just putting in all that work. He's already had bits of success as a next gen boarder to finish top 15 at any World Cup, any international event like he did in the Netherlands in the slalom is huge. That just builds your confidence, and especially this year when they have world championships coming in big white before the Paralympics. This is a great year just for him to build that momentum, build that strength, and build that confidence where hopefully he can represent the Maple Leaf in Milano Cortina, but just get that strength even going for the French Alps in 2030 as well.
Absolutely. It's going to be exciting to follow his journey along as Milano Cortina ticks closer and closer. You know what is also ticking closer is the end of the program. But Nathan, before we wrap things up, you want to put me to the test, put me in the hot chair with another edition of Blind Power Rankings. Take it away.
Yes, so for this one, the big J journo himself, Jeff Ryman, and I have cooked up a blind rankings of sports venues you would love to participate in.
Okay, I am scared because I saw you and Jeff giggling to each other putting this list together. I have no idea what to expect, so hit me with the first one.
All right, the first one, the Bell Center for Hockey.
Oh, that's a classic arena. So arena I would want to compete in. I'm going to put the Bell Center number 2. I think there's a couple others that are just above it, but it's a strong early contender.
All right, the second one is the San Fermin Festival, aka the Running of the Bulls.
Yeah, I'm going to put that at 5. I want to go to a venue that's not going to, I don't know, kill me. So I don't have faith in myself that I could get out of the path of the Bulls. So I'm going to pass on that. The Bulls can go number 5.
All right, so we got the Bulls at 5 and the Bell Center at 2. Then coming up next is the Calcio Storico Fiorentino, which is the military-like rugby game that happens in Italy.
So I don't really have much context for that competition or that venue. So just based on my ignorance and lack of knowledge, I'm going to put it at 4. That may be a bad choice. I'm sure there's still going to be a few curveballs coming my way, but that one goes 4.
Maybe the biggest curveball so far. So we have 1 and 3 available. Soldier Field for football.
Oh, number 1. I'm a Bears fan. I kept number 1 open for a reason. Historic venue. It's not going to be around much longer. It's the smallest NFL arena right on the heart of the water in Chicago for the Bears. So number 1 in my heart.
And the Bears are having one heck of a season so far. But you know what one place was that had amazing seasons for hundreds and hundreds of years? The original Coliseum.
Ooh, oh, yeah, okay. I kind of screwed up there, didn't I? I would have replaced it. I'm such a history buff. You know I'm a history buff. Yeah, that would have been a pretty fantastic place to be. Although most of the competitions there were quite bloody in nature. So number 3, I think, yeah, I'll live with that. I don't want to die, just hence why the Bulls are number 5. So I can live with the Coliseum at number 3, Nathan. Thank you. This has been, I think it's a good list. I'm happy with my list.
That's a great list. So just so the viewers know, number 1 was the Bell Center. No, number 1 was Soldier Field. No. Number 2 was the Bell Center. Number 3 was the original Coliseum. Number 4 was the Calcio Storico. And number 5 was the Running of the Bulls.
Yep, and I'm happy with that list. What do you think of my list and my decision? Let us know in the comments at home. Be sure to give us a like, a follow, subscribe, leave a comment. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Parasport Nation. Like and subscribe to the channel to follow us now.